I only had one deep freezer. I mean, take the decision to pile the bodies on top of each other.
Mitchell Blair. A mother of 4 was convicted of murdering 2 children in 2015. During an eviction, a shocking discovery was made in her living room, a deep freezer containing the frozen bodies of a teenage girl and a boy. The mother admitted to the crime and received a life sentence. How could a mother commit such a horrific act against her children? What impact do you think this had on the remaining children? Sheila McFarland. Sheila McFarland, a black woman, received a life sentence without parole for her alleged involvement in a brutal murder. Despite not being the perpetrator, Judge Daniel Gold passed a severe sentence. During the hearing, McFarland accused the judge of racism, which further angered him. Activist Alfred Porter Jr. has advocated for McFarland, claiming her sentence is unjust. However, a jury found her guilty on multiple charges, and the judge imposed an aggregate life sentence without parole. The disturbing part is McFarland's attempt to shift the blame and the judge's shocking response, highlighting biases in the justice system.
Please let me. Because you have always been disrespectful to me, and you don't like black people, and you definitely don't like me.
When you try to flip the script, when you play the race card in a disgusting fashion, but most important, when you manipulate the system of justice by murdering a witness in a criminal trial, you will pay for it the harshest possible penalty. And therefore, you, madam, will be sentenced to life in prison without any possibility of...
Erica Mae Butz and Shanita Cunningham. Prepare to be horrified by this shocking case involving the brutal murder of 3-year-old Serenity Richardson. Erica Mae Butz and Shanita Latrice Cunningham, the godmother and mother's best friend, were charged with her killing. Serenity had been left in Erica's care, but these 2 women repeatedly beat her with plastic coat hangers and a belt instead of protecting her, causing fatal injuries. They claimed they didn't realize their actions would lead to her death, but evidence showed a pattern of weeks-long abuse. Both were convicted of homicide and child abuse and sentenced to life imprisonment. Their dramatic and disturbing reaction in court raised questions about the adequacy of their punishment. How can such cruelty be inflicted on an innocent child?
Life. You will get credit for any of the time that you serve.
Seth Welsh and Tatiana Fasari. Seth Welsh and his wife were arrested for the murder of their 10-month-old daughter, Mary Welch. The shocking details reveal that the baby died from dehydration and malnutrition in August 2018. The parents intentionally neglected her needs due to their twisted religious beliefs and mistrust of medicine. They even refused to seek medical help when they knew she was malnourished. Seth Welsh prioritized calling his lawyer over getting emergency assistance when he realized the baby was unresponsive. Autopsy reports showed the infant weighed only 8 pounds and suffered from chronic malnutrition caused by neglect and starvation. Tatiana Fasari, Seth Welsh's wife, later admitted being abused and prevented from taking their baby to the hospital. The couple faced charges of homicide, felony murder, and child abuse for their horrifying actions. How can religious beliefs and mistrust of medicine lead to such tragic consequences?
That is a charge called homicide, felony murder. It is life without parole. The second offense that you're both charged with is called child abuse in the first degree, where they're alleging you knowingly or intentionally caused serious physical harm to a child. They're talking about this Mary Welch. It is a felony. Possible penalty of up to life imprisonment or any term of years less than life.
Samantha Davis. Samantha Davis is a former sports coach from Carlsbad, California. After a bitter divorce and custody battle, Samantha grew increasingly angry at her ex-husband. Fueled by resentment and jealousy, she plotted to take his life with her boyfriend, Weldon McDavid Jr. They lured him to a secluded location, and McDavid shot him, but luckily he survived. After hearing her punishment, Samantha received a 50-year prison sentence and collapsed in court. Jodi Arias. Aria stood accused of brutally murdering her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander in a jealous rage. The prosecution presented compelling evidence, including crime scene photos and DNA evidence, linking Arias to the crime. Arias maintained her innocence and presented a self-defense claim, but her story was inconsistent and implausible. Arias broke down in tears during questioning, and the judge ultimately sentenced her to life in prison based on the cruel nature of the crime and evidence of premeditation. Ignacio Rodriguez. The trial of Ignacio Rodriguez was a captivating legal drama filled with suspense and high stakes. Rodriguez, a wealthy and powerful defendant, was accused of the brutal murder of Maria Gomez, a housekeeper working for his family. The evidence against Rodriguez was strong, including DNA at the crime scene and witness testimonies. Despite maintaining his innocence, Rodriguez was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. The trial showcased the power of the legal system to bring justice, regardless of social status, and highlighted the determination of prosecutors to seek truth and accountability for victims of violent crimes.
Rodriguez, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Kamya Gamit. The Kamya Gamit trial was a shocking and gripping legal drama that held the nation's attention. Gamit was accused of violently murdering her boyfriend Marcel Hill in jealousy. The prosecution presented evidence of Gamit's history of abuse towards Hill, while the defense argued she acted in self-defense due to her victimization. Emotions ran high in the courtroom, with Gamit often crying. After deliberation, the jury found her guilty on multiple charges, and she was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
Christopher McNabb. The Christopher McNabb trial was a heart-wrenching and shocking courtroom drama that gripped the nation. McNabb stood accused of murdering his 15-day-old baby girl, Aaliyah, in a fit of rage. The prosecution presented compelling evidence of McNabb violently shaking his baby, resulting in her death. The emotional testimonies and graphic evidence deeply impacted spectators. McNabb's defense team argued his innocence and raised doubts about the prosecution's case. As tensions rose, McNabb expressed his innocence, but later, in a surprising turn, asked for the maximum sentence, effectively giving himself a life sentence. How do you think McNabb's self-imposed life sentence influenced the courtroom dynamics? What factors might have led him to make such a decision?
The law states that I have a right to confront my witnesses who accuse me of doing wrong. So I felt like I wanted to say it in front of her since she was the one up here slandering me. And that's all I got to say.
Ariel Castro. The trial of Ariel Castro was a shocking and disturbing case that horrified the world. Castro kidnapped 3 young women and held them captive for over a decade, subjecting them to abuse and torture. During his sentencing hearing, Castro denied all wrongdoing and blamed his victims for his crimes, suggesting that the abuse was not as severe as claimed. This statement caused outrage and disbelief in the courtroom. Despite his composed demeanor, the evidence against Castro was overwhelming, and he eventually pleaded guilty to numerous charges, receiving a life sentence without parole. How do you think Castro's denial and victim blaming affected the survivors and their families? What are your thoughts on the outcome of the trial?
I just want to clear the record that I am not a monster. I did not prey on these women. I just acted on my sexual instincts because of my sexual addiction. And God is my witness. I never beat these women like they're trying to say that I did. I never tortured them.
That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.